Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Terry with Holding Your Space, and this is Annie Bond. Hi, Annie.
So fun to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm honored to have you here. I'm just so excited. I can't tell you. We were talking backstage, and we have so much in common, and I'm in awe. So, Annie is a well-known author. Your latest book, Awakening Prana, is out now, and is it already a bestseller? I know
No,
you've written
no,
several.
it does well with the chakra world and that kind of thing. But this is the book, and you can see the energy body of that. This is what I try to get us all to come into this beautiful energy body. So
Yeah. It's huge, it's beautiful, and I just took a class with you that I dearly loved, the Trinity Energy Healing course,
mhm.
and healing the, divine feminine and the divine masculine as opposed to, and healing with the idea that our birth parents are different. Our birth mom and dad are different than our divine father and our divine mother. And that was such a beautiful awakening for me that I've done a lot of healing work and I've done a lot of energy work, but working with that Trinity was phenomenal. It was like a piece that was missing. So thank you and kudos. And also, there's so much going on. You teach this so people can heal themselves.
I do, and I that this is it's really a goal of mine now is to help people learn tools so that they can be help themselves through things, and that was a big part of my effort on the Shift Network with that course that you took, and thank you for your kind words about the Trinity activations because they it's no disrespect to our birth parents, but on a soul level, we have the healed mother and the healed father, and they're not the same as our birth parents. And so they can fill in the areas of depletion that we have and where we have our wounds and help us overcome them. And as I say, it's not just respectful to our birth parents, but we are more than that. We become our much more authentic selves when we're able to transmute those wounds into being more tuned into our own souls. And it's really a fantastic program. So
Yeah, yeah, it's phenomenal, and, it's interesting because I feel like my kids are my biggest teachers, number 1. So I learned so much from them, and sometimes it's what I was doing wrong, so I can improve myself.
I know that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very generous with that, so at times, but there's also, like, this thing, this conditioning that we have when we're on this planet, and so I love the title of your book, Awakening Prana, and going into that. And that's the next course I wanna take with you, so I'm so excited about it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, the school that I teach, it's school's sort of a misnomer, but I have one in very intensive 6-month program that I teach. That's the Path to Healing, and I want it's sort of a container. Most of us that come into this level are have done not dabbled. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but have you know, Reiki master here, this and that, the other thing, and they're looking for some container to put it all in, and that's what I really try to provide so that a person can really come into their own agency, and in that agency, fully evolve into the healer they're meant to be for themselves. The healer may even be the wrong word under that context, but become their truly authentic self. And it's I train people really well so that you're in a protocol that enables you to do all of this in full integrity and become more and more of like a hollow flute where you just connect and it's really just a joy to see people blossom into coming out of the old programming that we all have and breaking out of it at long last to become who they really are, and that's a very special thing. So
Yeah, yeah, it really is, it was incredible for me to go through that and see the little pieces that I'd left behind, and I feel like I don't know if you see that, how you visualize it, because you have a lot of visualizations in there and a lot of, with the pranic, the Torah, I think it is.
Yeah, the
And
toroidal energy body. Well,
yeah.
I have this wonderful designer down the street, and she, I worked with her all through this book because you just never know. I mean, it's hard, it's complicated, right? And it's complicated. And so if I could make it visual for people, it seemed to have helped a lot.
Yeah, it did help a lot. Let me pull it up. I've got it right here for you. Let's see, present,
I just
share
need to
screen.
interrupt 1 second.
Oh,
I
sure.
wasn't thinking, and I cut beets for lunch, and it looked like I've got blood on my hands, and it's beets. And so I'm sorry. It just so if people get distracted, that's what it is.
Oh my god, that is so funny.
I couldn't
Yeah.
scrub it off. I was like, "Oh my goodness," and I couldn't get it off. So anyway.
Oh, no, that's totally okay. I think well, that's a different one. Let's see. This one. I pulled 3 because I love them.
Okay, good.
Nope, that's not it. Nope. Okay, so we'll just move on. This is it. I don't know what I was thinking of. Yeah. So I don't know if you
Oh, I
can
love
see
that.
that or not. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
It's the key piece. It's just absolutely the key piece. We connect to the heart of the earth and the energy comes up. We also it goes down and we connect to the heart of the sun and this energy comes down and this builds a strong vortex inside of us that can build this toroidal energy body. And it's so powerful. You know, I was taught well in the early 2000s to be an energy healer, and but I was only taught about the chakras, and you sort of were taught to sort of go in with a pitchfork and, clear them out. And I was there years later, still clearing them out. And I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Why can't I move the energy that's stuck in my third chakra or wherever, many chakras? And so I just was really kept pushing to find what's the system that's very dynamic that actually moves all the energy around through us. And that's the way you can most successfully clear the chakras because the energy is flowing through and out, instead of just being stuck in there. And a lot of the way it's being pushed through is because of this toroidal energy body that we get going with this powerful yin and yang balancing of Mother Earth and Father Sun. And that activates this torus that will come, the energy flows through our whole chakra system and our physicality. And it's just an absolute game changer for how you feel and your health and all sorts of things.
It really is. So I love the visualization of that because obviously energy is always in motion. And it when we do healings or when we meditate in my group, we usually go into our physical form and then acclimate our etheric body or auric field and then our light body. And when you came out with that, I was like, yes.
Yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, that's super
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. So anyway, I just wanted to
Well, your meditation group sounds wonderful.
well, um, yeah, I did that, holding your space, and I actually did that, Annie, because I'd been through a lot, and I wanted people to come in, and I was going to have healers on, and everybody, and I've taken a lot of healing modality courses too, and but what I found out is everybody healed me because everybody comes in together,
Oh,
and
very nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a group. So,
There's
yeah, it's
a
a
lot of
beautiful
power in a
thing.
group.
There is when we're more than one, gather.
Yeah.
There was a lot of power in your group too, and you have long intensive courses, don't you?
I do. I just taught it in Sedona for, it was a 5-day retreat, and that was fantastic because we were right there with all these vortexes and labyrinths and everything, and we could be very experiential with the work. But my Path to Healing 6 months, and it's a class that has a certification, and I have a level 1, level 2, level 3, and it gets more and deeper into the mystery schools as you get over, it's a 3-year program if you go through them all pretty much. And they're very, I just am it's always such a great joy to see a person really come into themselves. And my goal isn't to make them a healer like me. It's to make them become who they really are. And all sorts of interesting people come through that program. And it's very intimate, and everybody gets to know each other well, and I get to know everybody. And I work with everybody with their clairs, so can't find the blocks that may be blocking their clairaudience or their claircognizance or whatever. And then it's a very rigorous training, but it's a wonderful one. And so it's my great joy. I've been doing that for 10 years now, starting the level 1, and my next level 1 starts in May, and then I'll be offered again in November. So.
Wow. Wow. And everybody, you can find out more information at Annie's website, which is awakeningprana.com. And I'll have all the information in the description also, but it's right here. So
Thank you so much. Yeah. No, I'd love to.
yeah.
You can connect to me there too. So ask questions or whatever. So.
Yeah. And you do these retreats in Sedona. Is that as I know it, that's your second retreat there?
Third. This was the
Oh
third.
my
And
gosh.
yeah, it's been really special. And it was very a special experience. And I really related to what you said about a group, and how deep it is when you have a group. And there were 34 of us all together, and it was a very strong circle. And we, as you say, you get a healing too. And I've never been with a group, and this last one in particular, and everybody, there were some, unbelievable personal stories that I happen to know because I've given a lot of them healings one-on-one. But it was everybody checked their egos at the door, including me. And so it was just a remarkable experience because of that. And I just honor each one of them, because that's not an easy thing to do. And so it was very special. But a lot of that's credit, I think, also to the energy of the place, because you're such an elevated state, it just being there, right? And so that really helps.
That's a huge thing. Spirituality, it seems like years ago there was a lot of snobbery. I say that. I mean, that maybe that doesn't sound nice, but maybe people were just very intense about it.
Yeah.
But now it seems more joyful and a little more playful, or maybe that's just me. I don't
And,
know.
and welcoming. I think it's not, the welcome is, let's all heal ourselves so that we can, become more authentic and be in more joy. I think that's, that, I mean, and I wonder, sometimes I have one client, and she rightfully really challenges my word heal, to use the word heal, because I use that all the time, and I'm healing of this and that. And I'm curious to know what you think. With her, I've been trying to substitute alignment, to be in attunement. I asked for this to bring the person into attunement instead of the word healing. But maybe it's just a semantics thing,
Yeah, yeah. I like healing, but I like all those others
Yeah,
too.
that's right. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. To abide. I don't know.
I think her conflict with me was, not with me, with the word, is that, but we're all perfect to begin with, and that's certainly true. But I'm not perfect in all my wounds either. I can't say that I can envision myself without them, without working on them somehow. So I think that's where she was coming from, pretty much.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, a lot of your in the beginning, at least in our course, and it looks like in Awakening Prana as well, is about grounding.
Hmm.
And do you want to describe that, how you do that? Because I love the way that you do that.
Yeah. When I started my healer training, I was taught to send a grounding cord down into the earth, give the healing, and then you cut the grounding cord after that. And I walked around for 2 straight years, I believe, like a helium balloon. I had been let off, and it was a complete disaster for me to
Yeah,
try
it was
to ground.
awkward.
Yeah, and I was like completely disconnected. I had a lot of trauma. It was trouble for me to be in my body to begin with, right? And so that was just gave me permission to take off. And so I spent a lot of time trying to understand, honoring that most of us ground in different ways that works for us. We're very differently, and to honor that we're different. And but this is one way that I think is a really, I mean, there are two ways I like to connect. So grounding is step one of the 9 steps to awakening your prana. And it's also to connect to the elements, earth, fire, water, air, and ether, because if you think of it, we really are the elements. And we are, I have 70% water in my body. I've, if you add it all up, I'm 100% the elements. And so learning to honor our connection to the elements really brings us into our physicality also. And so one of the ways that may be the one you're referencing from that I certainly brought into the course that you took on the Shift Network was the sending love and gratitude to the heart of the earth and asking Mother Earth to bring her energy up to our Earth Star chakras, which are about 10 inches below the ground. And then also, though, and this is important, sending love and gratitude to the heart of the sun and asking Father Sun to send his beautiful energy down to our soul star chakra. And that energy comes down. And there's something about the connection of earth and sun that brings us into our physicality on the planet that really matters. Like I got to a much higher level of grounding when I started connecting more to sun. I needed a lot more of that yang sun energy to help me be grounded. And then that energy would go straight down into the earth. And it was really, really helpful. So that's one way. And another way that I commonly use is to imagine, and people have heard versions of this, but I think there's some twists here that may be new for people. And that is to imagine yourself a tree with incredibly deep roots. And the roots not only go down deep into the earth, but they drink up the nutrients. And so that becomes a really important piece. We drink it up like imagining a straw drinking up the nutrients. And then that brings that yin energy up, which mirrors that image you showed of the torus, where that energy coming up through the center, which is the pranic tube up through the center. And then you're the trunk of the tree, but then the branches reach to the sun and the leaves drink down the sun. The light comes to the leaves. And so you're drinking down the sun too. And that's a very, very successful way to more simply, in a way that's more connected to nature and not so esoteric, just to get yourself grounded. And that's a really good one.
I love that. And I love the alignment of that. I've got a, let's see, I've got a picture of that here somewhere. Nope.
The one of the tree?
I don't think I've got the tree. No, that's not it either. Doggone. Well, I'll find it later, people. Anyway, this was quite a beautiful one.
Mother Earth, and the one that connects to the earth and the sun.
Yeah. Here it is. There we go. And is this the one that you're talking about?
I wasn't, but this works too, because you have the sun energy, the Mother Earth energy coming up, the Father Sun energy coming down, and they combine. And that's bioelectric when they combine, because you've got the yin and the yang. The yin is the negative charge and the yang is the positive charge. And they and that's sort of a leap, is to start adjusting to the fact that we're really bioelectric, and that our whole body functions by a charge, a negative positive charge. The yin and the negative is the yin, and the positive is the yang, and they connect. And then that's when you can see that beautiful vortex in the heart chakra, which ultimately would turn into a toroidal energy field. So
as we awaken, do you see our bodies changing?
Oh, totally. Because, and that's, I think, ultimately my source, my goal, my dream for awakening prana is to help us come to a point where we actually reconnect, as it were, to more source energy. So that source energy comes in through the toroidal energy body, comes to us and comes into our physicality, bringing light. And what brought me to this work actually was an interesting story. I think I really loved this book by called Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, and this woman is a wonderful channeler, and she did a fabulous channeled book called Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, and this was really deep into the research into the mystery schools that Jesus was part of, apparently, and they were many. Magdalene was there, Mary was there, Joseph was there. There were many, and they lived under caves and all this, but they were very profoundly involved in coming into their light bodies. And so that was the big effort. And so it was fascinating reading about that. And then on one page, she said, and this is how Jesus gave healings, and Jeshua is what she would say. And it was absolutely riveting. I can't tell you how many weeks, and I've mulled over these every line of the steps to how he gave a healing. And one of the steps he did is he would connect to the axiotonal grids, AXIONOT tonal,
Mhm.
and I was like, what the heck are they? And I just went into a really deep research dive. I spent a couple winters by my wood stove and my slippers and
Oh,
researching and um, the Keys of Enoch. I read lots of different things. And ultimately, the story is that the belief is that we eons ago came onto the planet fully connected to source because um, we were one, right? We felt like we were one. And so we had lots of yin energy and we had lots of yang energy going through us. And the light was coming to our physical bodies from source because we were connected. It was just coming through us. But bit by bit, and we started coming into this time, the patriarchy, right? We came out of that time of the mother and that deep yin energy connection, and it got cut off more and more and more. And so all of a sudden, this electrical system that we've been talking about a little bit, that the electrical charge of that we need, the yin and the yang, it's like we're like cars, and like a car battery. You can imagine, to get our bodies really functioning, we need all that charge. And that it started bit by bit, started getting less and less of that yin feminine energy, because as the humanity became more and more and more disconnected to the planet and Mother Earth. And as that happened, this charge became less and less. So that image you showed of the vortex opening in the heart would get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer because it wasn't charging enough. And so we weren't pulling source energy into our physicality anymore, because it's that vortex that would help pull it in, and we weren't getting enough. And so then what the research that I did and what I ended up working with, it's a channeled book, by the way, Awakening Prana, which we can talk about, but
yeah.
it was that the need to connect, to build that build that yin and yang balance had to come into balance, or we wouldn't be able to get this source energy flowing to our physicality. And then once you can get that, then you can have the light of source like go to your wounded areas and that are manifesting because of emotional stuff, but all of a sudden the light will go there, and you can the master stem cell will start getting light. It's just a view. That's what's so regenerative about these 9 steps, is that it teaches you how to get that whole system functioning again, so that we can get light into our energy bodies, our physical bodies, I mean. And so I think it's extremely helpful for people. And it dovetailed with the work that I had been learning, which you took in that course from this channel, which I call Stone Man,
Mhm.
which we can talk about. But that he had taught me this. He's a Hathor, one of these beings. Some of you may have read the Hathor material by Tom Kenyon. It's in that. It's a Hathor. It's one of these beings. They're very tall, incredible sound healers, big ears. The goddess Hathor is from Egypt, is one of them, and had been teaching me about this yin and yang balance and how it just kept pushing and pushing year after year that this is absolutely essential to coming into health and vitality is the yin and the yang balance. And that's where the Trinity activations, which was bringing in the healed mother, the soul mother, soul father, all came from that seed of the same thing. And so the Trinity activations are actually a step 3 of the 9 steps is connecting your own sense of connecting to yin and yang. So Mother Earth and Father Sun is an important part of it, so that you're not cutting yourself off from the yin of the earth, for example, then your soul mother, soul father, and then thus divine mother and the divine father, that we all, that's the same for all of us, that also needs to be in balance in ourselves, because women particularly often will shut off the connection to the divine father, because
Yeah.
churches are so full of patriarchy and things that they're afraid, and they'll shut that down. So making sure those are clear and come into balance, or that's another huge piece of it, and that's the step 3 of the 9 steps.
That's beautiful. And from what I've read, people in the olden days also lived a lot longer. There's studies of people living hundreds and hundreds of years. As some of
Well,
the old ascended masters.
well,
Pardon me?
that would be beautifully. I mean, I would really appreciate that knowledge, because I do appreciate it, because that's my premise, is that they were still connected in a way that we all got disconnected. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Oh, well, yeah, let's talk some more about that. I do believe that as time goes on and we connect more to this light, I mean, I feel like I'm, you know, feeling so much better and lighter on my feet. So,
good, good,
which
good,
is
good. Yeah,
huge.
me too.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, I think I'd be dead a decade ago if I didn't do this work. I mean, God knows what would have happened.
And I just want to backtrack a wee bit here, because I don't think I introduced you properly. You've written so many books and you've done a lot on healing the body in so many different ways, like as far as keeping your home healthy, your eating habits healthy, and then and I can't say all the ways that you've learned to heal, all your certifications and degrees, because there's so many of them. But so you've really been at this for a while and really studied it.
Well, I got very sick, and that we often have, I call it, my shaman death, right? They say that you get knocked off over your head. Your spirit will just knock you down if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And boy, did I get that. It almost took me out. In 1980, I was a painter and a sculptor, and I was helping put my husband at the time through graduate school, and I was waitressing at night, and I worked at a restaurant that had a gas leak, and it sent 80 people to the hospital, and I was one of them. And it was, one of these catastrophic things where all the hospitals and their area are all on red alert, etc. And I had what they said was permanent central nervous system damage at that, from the heavy petrochemical exposure. And I've never been the same since then. And I'd been a very healthy person. I was captain of my high school ski team. I just was, I thought I was just going to go through a regular life, and, but then our apartment building was exterminated with a pesticide that's been taken off the market because it's so incredibly neurotoxic. And
Mhm.
I got really, really sick. I drove myself to the hospital, and I said, I don't know what happened to me, but you need to figure it out. And a lot of time, because it was central nervous system, it manifested as depression and some, I was very sped up, and my racing thoughts, that kind of thing. So I took myself to the psych unit, not knowing any better, right? I was just like, please, can you find out somebody's got to find out what happened to me. And I just got they couldn't, I was very atypical. They couldn't diagnose me. And I was discharged on a lot of Xanax, actually, was what finally quieted my central nervous system down. But I am just the luckiest person, because I have a sister who's a biochemist, and she was just like, wait a minute, Annie was completely fine until that gas exposure, and she's, hasn't been fine since. And she found what was then like the first environmental medicine doctors in the world, and they just happened to be in New Haven, Connecticut, which is where we were living. And so I finally got diagnosed properly. I was what they call, a bubble case. I had multiple chemical sensitivity, and I fortunately am so grateful that I was never about natural materials, but it was about anything synthetic, especially petroleum based, that I just couldn't tolerate whatsoever. So but at least I knew it was wrong. And so we ended up having to move 10 times in 4 years, just trying to find an environment where I could live. And ultimately, I got well enough once I find a healthy home to be able to have a have a baby. And once she was born, I had to work from home because I couldn't work in the world anymore. And so that's when I started like trying to put together information about how to live a non-toxic life, because we were coming into Earth Day 1990 at the same time. And I just hit a vein. I was just ahead of the curve. I knew how to live without chemicals. And so my first book was Clean and Green, and it was the first time those two names were put together, words were put together, really. And that became a runaway bestseller. I just, as I say, there I was suddenly on this, and I wrote a number of books. Ended up having a, really prestigious career. I worked for Mothers and Others for Livable Planet, which was Meryl Streep's group. And
Wow.
I worked with started a newsletter with Deepak Chopra, of all things. I would pull the heal yourself inside, and I would pull the heal yourself outside kind of thing. And it was very, then I hit the 2008 recession, and I lost my day job, which was an editor in this kind of world. And I sort of was scrambling. But in the meantime, people that were as sick as I was, are just pushing the envelope, right? Because Western medicine wasn't helping me, and avoiding clean air was the only thing I knew of how to feel well. So I became a Reiki master, and then I did a bunch of healer trainings, but I still wasn't. And I had a lot of luck with working with Kundalini. That was very, very
Wow.
helpful for my spine, my central nervous system, no question about it.
It's huge.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
really huge. And I got the message to do this one Kundalini thing once a week for 26 weeks. And I did. And that was really helpful. And I did a lot of sound healing, and I just gradually was freelancing contract work in my day job world. And I just ultimately moved into healing full time. And by 2014, I did. And I think, a important piece of the whole story is that the 100 moon of 2014, I was the October moon, and I was awakened in the night with this incredible healing. This being came in and gave me a healing, and
Mhm.
I'd had enough healings. I knew that that's what it was, that it was I was being given a healing. And I eventually got to sleep, and it was just so tender, and knew every little iota of any suffering I'd had in my life, and, some wisdom about it, all that kind of thing. And I woke up the next morning, and I just thought, my God, that must be the Divine Mother. I don't know what else it could be. And I'd never been to church. I didn't even know what the Divine Mother was or anything. But ultimately, I realized it was my soul that had come over the months that came after that. I realized it was my soul that had come and given me a healing. And that changed everything about the way I give healings, because I suddenly was no longer what I call the doer. I was just asking a person's soul to bring them the healing, and that started a whole world of its own. So
That's huge. That is so huge that you're, teaching others, and it's pretty simple in a way. I mean, it's involved, but it's pretty simple that everybody has the power to do it.
absolutely. And so you could put yourself in I talk about the sacred triangle, where I'm the facilitator, but then I ask, it could be your soul or your higher self. It could be Mother Mary or whoever, to bring the healing to yourself, if you're on the other side of the triangle, or a client. but you're facilitating it by being in heart coherence, being in your own heart and being clear as you can, but you're never the one doing it, right? And so it's a number one, as a healer, people can't believe the wisdom that comes to them because it's their true wisdom, right? It's not someone's personality conjuring it up, even as well educated as one may be. And then it's just so profound, the healing. So it's really
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah, so beautiful. So more synchronicities. I'm also a chopra teacher. So
Oh, okay.
I love that.
What was the first word? The what kind of?
Oh, I'm a meditation teacher,
Oh,
primordial sound meditation with the
oh,
Chopra
that sounds.
Foundation.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
I wish we
Yeah,
were neighbors. We'd have fun.
I know, right? Well,
Yeah.
maybe, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Um, so let's thank you for telling us all about that, because I think it's amazing how we go on our paths.
I know. It's just like, who would have ever thought? If somebody knows me and my cleaning habits, that I wrote a book on cleaning, is, like, what? Who would have ever thought?
Hello. I can go there too. And I wrote down that book. I definitely want to read that book. Let's talk more about your book, Awakening Prana, because I just think that that's a beautiful thing. Because we all can do this. This is something that's out there for us, and we don't have to ask an archangel to help us or an ascended master, because there's an aspect of us that are ascended masters.
That's right. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely. So the first step is it's really, in yoga they talk about kriyas, Kriya, that one thing leads to the next, to the next. And in a way, you can look at these 9 steps as a kriya. And the more I work with people with the 9 steps, the more experientially I like to work with them. And the book by the way, has QR codes so that you can go right to the sound healing that's associated with one of the steps, or hear me lead you through a audio meditation about that step. That was sort of a fun new thing in technology that we can, that I could do that, so that
Everybody was telling me about that in Meditation Tribe, this week, that you do that, and they were like,
yeah,
"Oh, you
so
can
it's
just
like
go
you
there."
see that in the QR codes are right there, so that's pretty fun.
And you offer these on I know on YouTube and on your website,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And
Free.
SoundCloud, Awakening Prana SoundCloud is a really nice one because there are no ads, and I mean they will jump from what you have playing to something else. And on my website too, you could listen to them there. And there are a lot of meditations I put on my site. Um, but so as we discussed, the first step is being grounded, getting on the planet, being here now, like really being here, being embodied, and because that's where we're going to have the most connection, is if we're here. And that connected to the earth star chakra, our soul star chakra, we're in this channel of being deeply connected into the earth. The second step is one of my favorite, really, in terms of my life, and that is connecting to your higher self and soul. So it's building a relationship with your higher self, so that that's really the sort of a mystery that was never taught to me. I was just in my 3D world, and that I can ask my higher self to give me insight. I can build a relationship. And I've been doing that now for, 20 years or so, 25 years maybe. And it's just life changing to me. So back then I would say all the time, I asked my higher self to clear our connection as much as is in the highest good. I was sort of afraid of getting too much at once. So I didn't know what I was going to be getting, but I didn't want to get blasted. So I'd ask my higher self to clear our connection. And over the years, it's gotten clearer and clearer, so that I can ask for wisdom. I can ask for guidance. A lot of people that are mediums and channelers talk about the guides. For me, this has been less about the guides as my higher self, as the guide, kind of, So, I mean, outside of Stone Man, which I'll constantly asking Stone Man questions, but um, and Stone Man, I think, might be a council of Hathors. So there are different beings that will come through. But my main communication is with with my higher self. And so, and I think one of the things that I teach in my level 1 just all the time, and anybody who's ever had a healing with me, I ask, I'm ask. I never am the doer. I'm always asking. And well, that's not true. I'm a sous chef, I guess I could say, because I assist. But the asking is just an incredible gift to make that connection to your higher self. And so that's I look at our clairs, like clairvoyance and clairsentience and clairaudience, as the information highway to our higher self. So learning how to work with that is important. The third step is, as we discussed, it's the connect the yin and the yang, getting the currents going, that so that you can have the charge of the yin and the yang, so your whole energy body starts working. So the step 3 isn't about getting the ignition of it, but to make sure they're in balance. So that was the whole Trinity activation work that we did with the course you took with me, was all about that. And we've been talking about connecting to Mother Earth and Father Sun also, and how important that is. So
Yeah, that was huge. That, definitely did a Kundalini awakening for me.
what
Going through
really?
that. Oh, definitely, definitely, yeah. And I've had other Kundalini awakenings before, when I was younger and recently, but usually it's the kind where I'm holding on to my bedpost and, trying not to float away.
Oh
This was
yeah.
gentle. It came in and I was dizzy and whatnot a little, but I was like, "Oh, okay, I know what this is. This is okay. It's an awakening."
Oh, nice. Very,
Yeah,
very nice. And was it with the Mother Earth, Father Sun that was with, or that was
yeah,
it with that? Interesting, because that's that big connection, the big pillar that, and I'd see sometimes in that course, I'd see some people, people twirl, moving around a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then the fourth step is when you get enough of the yin and the yang and it comes into equal balance, there is this ignition that happens. And, I think, just to sort of hammer in a little bit about the yin and the yang, this bioelectric, if you think of the sperm and the egg, that's what happens. You've got a sperm and an egg, and I mean, it's the egg, and it makes the baby, right? And it's like that. It's like you have enough of the yin and enough of the yang, but you need them both, right? You are not going to make a baby if you have a half an egg or something, right? And so
Right.
this is why it's so important, that step 3 of working. And it sounds like your channels are already very clear, which is fantastic. So
Mm.
so then and when I was in Sedona, I took people to the divine feminine vortexes and then to the divine masculine vortexes. And that was so amazing. I just had a client earlier that had been with me there, and she had had such a powerful connection to the soul father that she'd never, I mean, to the divine father vortex, the male energy, and she'd never had that she was really shattered. I mean, she'd had trouble standing. She was just, but it was, she said, all of a sudden I'm supporting myself. She's a 70-year-old nurse that looked like an angel, that she has been an angel for people for all these years. But she's never been able to put herself forward. And suddenly she was like, I just made a decision that was good for me and not for someone else. So that was, the beauty of her integrating more of that healed father energy.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah, that was really beautiful. And then, there, I mean, I'll never forget this woman who came to see me way back. It was before the pandemic, and I was just early on in the Trinity activations, and she was 90% depleted of the healed mother energy because her mother was such a disaster.
Mm.
And imagine her whole life she'd had no healed mother energy in her, just 10%, just incredible depletion. And so when those energies are returned, it can be just huge, so subtle but huge, right? Um, but then that fourth step is when these energies do connect. The Vesica Pisces, they make the baby, that. But what also is a spark of creation energy, and that is the creation energy that happens in us that we want then to be able to go out into our whole our physicality, right, to bring us health and vitality. And so that's another reason why you need this whole thing happening, right? You need the yin and the yang, and then they connect and they ignite. And so that is the ignition of source in us. And then the what happens is it's a very makes a very strong vortex energy in us that also, and this is the other thing that's an important piece of the story of the axiotonal grids, and the mother, the Jesus healing, is that when you have that spark and it makes the vortex in you, it also blasts away the low vibration density that we have because of our trauma. And so imagine if we didn't blast away that low vibration. If we could, I mean, it was naturally blasted away, like in the old, the people, the god, mother goddess people,
Mhm.
but they were connected, so they didn't build up in all that muck. But we've built up with the muck because the system isn't working. But what happens when it works is that then it pushes out this low vibration density that is just a product of our suffering, right? And so you get the healing of that, and so the next step after this, which creates that spark and the vortex, that I call it the master blaster. It blasts away this low vibration density. The next step, the fifth step, is to release all the shreds of this that might be in your field because it just got blasted out. And so there's a whole releasing. And I like to release with the elements. I like earth magnetizing down, and water washing away, and fire burning away, and air dislodging and blowing away, and ether just removing. And a lot of people don't know what ether is, but it's really ether is really eternal love. It's space. It's more than space. It's eternal love. The closest I've been able to see, or when people talk about near death experiences, they see this pulsing love. That's the energy of ether that I see of ether. And so asking ether to be involved and remove the energy.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that. I assumed it was like gas or something in the other. So, but love I like even more.
Yeah, and eternal love. It's even, it's really powerful when you bring ether in and bring in the eternal love. The energy, how the beauty of the healing of the energy body with that is really something.
Wow. Yeah. The the love thing I've seen or I've heard from I guess from me, I was gonna say from my guides, but also from me, is that instead of looking at the speed of light in the future, we're gonna be looking at the speed of love. Like
Totally.
everything's just gonna pick up.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I agree with you. When I went out to Sedona, I was like, oh, it's really the love is the healer, and that's
Yeah.
it. And so I think that's true. And so maybe instead of just bathe a person in love is really what it's that law of vibration where the high vibration always will win out, but the lower vibration is really tenacious. So the high vibration has to be around long enough. And that's when I started thinking, and so people will have a healing and they'll feel great. And then all of us, but then this starts coming back because the light was not so there so much. But if this is love, everybody can bathe themselves in love, right? Then that stays around long enough that this lower vibration density can just sort of go away.
Yeah.
I think.
Beautiful. I love that. Love that. Yeah. And you have many of these healings on your YouTube channel and on your
Yeah, my YouTube channel's not that evolved yet, but I've got the 9 steps. I've got all the sound
yeah.
healings on there, and then I have the teaching and the meditation and a sound healing for each of the 9 steps. Of these 9 steps are on my YouTube channel, and people are enjoying them. I'm going to pay more attention because I didn't realize that they were actually, how many people when I was in Sedona said that they had listened to them, and
They really liked him. Yeah. Yeah.
so that was good.
Well, this is amazing. So, I don't want to cut you off if you want to describe any more of these steps, but I don't want to keep you over too much either because I know your time
Oh,
is important.
I can just quickly finish the steps. So
Oh, I would love it. Yeah, we would love it.
so
Yeah,
the
thank
fifth
you.
one is about releasing. And then the next step is really to tune into the source energy that we were talking about, that light energy that comes right down through the middle. So this carries our perfect DNA. It carries our higher self. It carries our soul. It carries. Oh, look at the way the light just did on there.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, the so this is the all important energy that we're reconnecting to, right? This is it. This central axis energy, and so all the steps are to get you to be able to have this energy disseminate. And so the sixth step is acknowledging that is the source energy. And then the step 7 is really the what you showed earlier about the energy coming up from below and down from above, and really getting, that's the pranic tube, and getting that energy flowing as strongly as you can with as much earth. And that's what happened with your kundalini, that the enough earth and enough sun, the toroidal energy body starts. And step 8 is that toroidal energy body coming into our physicality. And one of my favorite things when I feel like my Taurus is really flowing is to feel it come into my spine and bring light into my spine. It just always feels so good. And it just is flowing. And then the final step, step 9, is the whole thing working together. And it suddenly just is, the whole thing flows. You've got source coming to all, source energy coming to your physicality and to your places in your energy body that need repair. And so it's just a very, very, it's sort of a complete thing. And in the book at the very end, I have all the full meditation and everything, which is a long one, but I also have a 5.5 minute meditation that does all 7 steps. But if you're a busy person, you could do the whole thing in the morning and have it done. And it's a QR code, so to get you to it. So
Get her done every
yeah.
day. That's awesome. I love that. And will you introduce us to your stone man?
Oh yes, I'd love to do that. So I was walking in my driveway about, I don't know, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, and I found this stone. And as I mentioned, I'd been a painter and a sculptor, and I had a really creative streak in me, and I wasn't able to do any of that work anymore. So I was always sort of doing creative things when I could. And so this stone, if I hold it like here, you can see the face, the
Oh, yeah.
nose, and then if I turn it around the other way, you can see the other side of it. Um,
He's so beautiful.
Isn't he? Yeah. And
Yeah.
then if I bring it towards you, you can. I'm getting mixed up with the with the way it's like I'm working on a mirror or something.
Wow.
If you look, here's the nose and here's the mouth, and there's an
Yeah.
eye here and an eye there.
I
And
see it.
this particular eye is shaped like a heart, and you can
Uh,
see it there.
yeah.
And so I'll prop him up next to my computer, and I'll look into the eye, and I ask questions and he answers, and I ask questions and he answers. And I had no idea that I was channeling back in the day. I mean, it was so foreign to even anything I could ever imagine of myself, that it's taken many, many, years for me to shoulder that's what I'm doing. But it turned, I just, as the years went on, I mean, I have masses of Stone Man diaries. I realized that I was really, um, receiving an enormous amount of wisdom about the energy body. And because I was working so hard to be a healer, that was where my interest was. And I mean, jaw dropping wisdom, just absolute drop. My next book, I hope, is the Stone Man Diaries, because I want to compile all this. But and so it was with Stone. I mean, this whole book, he would give me an idea and I'd think about it. I'd bring it into healings. I'd go back and I'd say, how does that work? Where does this fit in? And it was just, I mean, constantly back and forth for a few years of asking questions and trying to understand. And he taught me these 9 steps. So
Wow,
it
that's
came
just
from there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is so amazing. I love that.
Yeah,
I
it
love
was so,
that.
I mean, I don't know who wrote the book, honestly, because I can't really, I mean, Annie, the personality, has no idea.
It's
So,
kinda like music, isn't it, though?
oh yeah,
It's all out there.
that's
All of this is out there, we just have to tap into it.
that's
And
it. Yeah.
thank you for doing that because, that's amazing, and, I did wanna mention something, is you were talking about the petroleum products and the things that we're given right now to clean with or to eat or whatever, and they're everywhere, and cleaning that out, it seems like that's one of the waves that's going on right now as well, but, and everybody's into energy healing as well, so thank you for being here, and thank you for, taking it another step further for us.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I know I feel like it's on me somehow to make it easy for people to clear their outside and clear the inside. That's both at the
Yeah.
same time. There's something about that, but I don't know, maybe another lifetime. So,
I think you're doing it. I think you're
yeah.
doing it because I feel like once we, align our energy, we don't want that other stuff. It's like
I know it's really true. And once you start getting rid of the other stuff, it's like, oh my God, I can't imagine I could do. I mean, you do nothing, but you want to do more and more of the healthy stuff. It's really true. So,
yeah, yeah, our bodies change. Well, I can't thank you enough, and I wanna thank, Sal Rods, one of our members, Sally, and she's the one that turned me on to you,
oh,
and
she's
she was
wonderful. She came to Sedona. She's an
yeah,
amazing student of mine. She does such cool stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm so grateful to have been on. I really thank you. It was wonderful to meet
Mm.
you and have such a lovely conversation. So,
It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it, and, I love that you've got your Rockman, and I've got, George's crystals over here, and they're kinda
that's
interconnected.
crystal. Yeah, that's right. Wow. Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, everybody, please go and look at the book, look at the, look at the website for Annie and, go check it out. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Terry. It was really fun to be here.
Okay.
So.
Bye, everybody.